talk about, yes, what did 800 people think the priorities should be for this community and for this region? And how does the region stack up against some competitors inside the state? How does it stack up in terms of the perspective of the next generation? In our research, we found this statistic. 47% of residents under 40 said they were going to leave in the next 4 years. This is going to cost you guys about $159 million. There's not only sort of a sense of loss when we lose young people, there's an actual financial cost. How do we invest and redesign and think about Grand Forks in a way that our next generations will be homesick for it? How do we do that? Well, we believe in our firm that it comes down to this dynamic mix of 7 different quality of life indexes in a community. And I'm going to share with you briefly what those 7 indexes are, and I'm going to intersperse some words that next generation respondents made when talking about or wishing about those indexes as they relate to Grand Forks. After that, we're going to show you how much they value each of the 7 indexes and what their perceptions are in the 7 indexes, and we're going to show you how you score in the 7 indexes against 2 other North Dakota cities. Here we go. So that's some of the data. It's not all the data, but it's some of the data. It's the relevant data. Now, where do we go? How do these recommendations shake out? Well, so the first recommendation that we're making here is that we need somebody waking up every day thinking about how young people in this community can get connected to this community. So we're recommending funding a position. Now, this might seem like, oh, great, you want us to throw money at a full-time position. But think of it, number 1, as job creation, okay? But think of it, secondly, as this. I mean, really, if nobody wakes up thinking about how we're going to reverse that brain drain trend, how we're going to keep $159 million from walking out of this community in the next 4 years, who are we leaving it to? Somebody's got to wake up thinking about this every day, and we think an ED for the Young Professionals Group is the way to go. The next thing we'd like to see your community do, and the Community Foundation already has a curriculum in place where they train new board members, but we would like to see your next generation step up and say, I do want to be on a board. I want to learn what it takes to be a good board member. Maybe I can't write the biggest checks, but I've got endless energy. I've got ideas. And I'm a big believer in not just throwing any old schlock on a board. I think board members should go through some certification. You should know what's expected of you so you don't show up on your first day like a deer in the headlights. You can hit the ground running. So we need to put some people through some board training. The next thing, I mentioned it a moment ago, it's not that there's nothing to do, it's that it's disorganized. It's not all in one place. There's nobody Facebooking consistently about where the coolest bands are to play tonight. There's not a centralized website that I can get on my smartphone to know what to do after hours. And then we also have to, this other bullet point is really about making sure that those students don't feel that they're just on campus and they're not part of the greater. Here are a couple of ideas based on best practices we've seen. Artopolis.com is available. You can see it's in beta, but it's available to nearly any community. And this is just to organize all your arts events into one sort of central clearinghouse. But there are others like onmilwaukee.com, awesome clearinghouse for everything that's going on in Milwaukee. Second C, recreate Grand Forks as a place that people want to live, work, play, and grow. So one of the first things we have to do is support the downtown plan. So if there are your businesses downtown, they need your support. If businesses downtown aren't promoted and frequented, more businesses aren't going to go downtown. So we've got to really treat that as a destination. And the other thing I think we need to stop doing is apologizing for winter, right? Winter is here. So how do we do what St. Paul does with the Winter Festival, or what Toronto does with their Winter Festival? It doesn't have to be big, but we need to kind of put our stake in the ground and stop apologizing for winter. Final things here under Recreating Grand Forks. Bikeability. Now I know you're like, but we have the Greenway. Listen, the Greenway's awesome. And there are protected bike lanes near the university, but as Steve said to me, when he really started mapping out the bike lanes, there's a lot there, they're just not all connected. In a meeting that we had prior to this evening, sorry to pick on you again, Steve, but one of the great ideas that came out of this group that has now been working together on this project, there's been some trust and some relationship capital that's been built. He said, wouldn't it be great if all of our marketers and our businesses and the city and the public information for the city, if we could all get together and talk about how to market and talk about Grand Forks? Wouldn't that be something? And then the final thing here is, when you think about a young person moving to Grand Forks or moving back to Grand Forks, there are two things that they look at. They look at the job opportunity, and they also look at the community, the quality of the community, the 7 indexes that we talked about. Let's talk a little bit about the quality of jobs. I go to the best place to work lists in the cities that I want to work in. I want to know who those great employers are. Where are the best places to work? So one of the things I think we have to do as employers is raise our game. We've got to become employers that the next generation can do the fist pump on and say, I am so proud to work here, and here's why. The final piece here under the Recreating Grand Forks is about image and PR. We're going to ask all of you after this to go to this website that's on the very bottom of the other side of that piece of paper. It's launchgrandforks.blogspot.com. And on this website, there is a pledge. And the pledge is to commit to being positive about Grand Forks. Is this 30-50 project? And the idea is this. Think of, 350. Think of 3 local, I'm not talking about Olive Garden, right? Think of 3 locally owned businesses that if they went away, you could not do without. It would be like ripping the guts out of Grand Forks. Think of 3 of them, and then commit in the next year to spending $50 at each one. This is a project that's caught on like wildfire, but I think this would be a great way to show your downtown businesses, your locally owned businesses, that you're committed to them. For any of you who are interested more, it's the350project.net. Final C, convince. Convince. How many of you, communities are made of 3 kinds of people. There are the homegrowns. These are the people who have always called Grand Forks home. And by the way, moving 30 minutes away does not mean you've left the community, okay? So let's just draw like a let's make it a 60-mile radius around Grand Forks. And if you've lived in this community, in this region for all your life, you're homegrown, right? The second group of people are boomerangers. We sort of already talked about that, but they're the people who maybe grew up here, went to high school and said, I'm out of here, went to college and had their first 5 or 6 jobs away and then found their way back. And then we've got the third kind of folk in a community. They're the transplants. These are the people who said Grand Forks is where, but then came here, generally for love or money, followed a spouse or a love interest or a job. 18% of your convincibles live here in this state. 41% live next door. Your convincibles live close by, so if we give them the right information in the right format and we start getting proud about this community, if they can call any community home and they already want to come back, they can make a tremendous contribution. So we recommend that you think about those convincibles and how they can boomerang. Here's the impact of a convincible. If we got just 200 convincibles to move back, that would be a $10.2 million plus impact here. I love thinking about 200 people, because Grand Forks doesn't need 1,000 people to move back. You need a couple hundred to think about coming home, and that feels more doable. So now I want to turn it over.